Alrighty, so the final game from match week number 21 is in the books, and I gotta say, when it comes to these Sunday games, if you were looking for goal scoring, yeah, there wasn't really a lot to be found in both of these games. Both of these games feature a pair of 1-0 result. And before we actually get to this game, I just want to quickly talk about the US versus Costa Rica because I, of course, was watching that while I was doing the review of part two of the Saturday night action. And in the end, the U.S. did move on into the semifinal, albeit it was definitely not the way I thought that they would move on, and especially with the way that they had to go to a PK shot against Costa Rica. And Matt Freese was definitely the big hero in that PK shot. He was able to make three big PK shootout save. And I also thought that heading into that PK shootout, I mean, when you have to face against Keylor Navas in the PK shootout, a legendary goalkeeper this I didn't really give the U.S. a lot of chance in terms of it, but like I said, Matt Freese, he definitely come up big in that PK shootout, and now the U.S. are going to be playing against Guatemala in the semifinal, and there still would be a case where we could get a Mexico versus U.S. Gold Cup final again. Mexico is going to be playing against Honduras, and if both of those respective national team is going to be able to win their semifinal, then we're going to have Mexico versus USA, and that game is going to be in Houston, which, newsflash alert, I'm going to be at that game, and I'm going to guess that it's going to be majority Mexican fans, knowing the fact that it's taking place in Houston. And anytime when there's an L3 game in Texas, it's basically going to be a home game for Mexico, that is. Now, looking back at these two Sunday games, like I said, when it comes to goal scoring, there wasn't really much to be found. And in the case of this game between Columbus versus the Philadelphia Union, it just feels like it was a grind in this one. I mean, if you were looking forward to some exciting soccer and just kind of a lot of chances and free flowing soccer, this was definitely not the game you want to watch. And it also doesn't help the fact that this game was also kind of extremely long because we had an hour long weather delay at halftime. But yeah, this was kind of the game that, in many ways, if you're the Philadelphia Union, this is kind of the game you were hoping for. You're going to trying to make things tough for the crew in this game. And for the most part, they did make it tough for the crew in this one. The Columbus crew really struggled throughout this game. Didn't really create a lot of dangerous chances, but they did create that one dangerous chances late in the first half, and that turns out to be the difference. And the Union going forward, yeah, they were very lackluster, and it was clear to say that they really missed Ty Baribo in this game. Now, in the first half, Lappinainen with the game's first shot, but he missed wide before Chambos hits it right to Blake. Columbus had most of the possession early and creating a couple of chances. Bedoya then tried to chip Bush there, but he puts this one over, and I thought Columbus got away with it because this came after just a bad turnover in their own half there. And then there was some concern for Columbus after Rossi seems like he went down with a knee injury. The good news is he would continue for the rest of the game, but that was definitely, you can sense that when Rossi went down, there was a lot of silence inside lower.com feel. I mean, crew fans were basically holding their nerves, hoping that Rossi is not injured because he is probably one of the most important piece on this attacking front. But the shots were only 3-1, 32 minutes in, and it still feel like it was a very cagey affair, and that kind of was the case throughout the remaining part of this game. It was a really slugfest kind of game where there was a huge midfield battle between both of these teams, and the Union would kind of do, I mean, what they do, making life miserable for the other team to try to break down and not giving too much space. Gastag would then head to Y as the flag went up, but then as we head to halftime, thinking that this was going to go scoreless, Columbus gets the breakthrough. It's Mo Farsi. He scored from Lapinainen and Sejdic to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. And again, it was really the first real good attack that Columbus had. The first time that they were able to penetrate that Union defense, and they showed their clinical finishing as a result. And just like that, they head to halftime with a 1-0 lead. Now, like I said, heading into the second half, we had a really long delay. Well, when I say long delay, not as long as what we saw in the middle of the week when it comes to weather delay. It was almost an hour. The game restarted at 8:30 p.m. And early on, Columbus continued to have most of the possession, but not much chances from either of these teams, mainly because the crew just cannot quite solve that Union the fans they were making life hard on the crew to try to find the space and the passing that you they usually have some area to try to attack. But in the 57th minute, Diamani heads it wide from close before I thought the Union started to get some good chances and they were looking for the equalizer. And then it was just a chaotic consequence where the Union twice put the ball on the doorstep of goal, and twice no Union player just kind of tapped it in, and that was kind of the theme in terms of this game. I mean, the Union, as good as their defensive work was on the attack, it was absolute toothless throughout this game. Farsi would have a shot that was deflected and goes high before Caven Sullivan hooked it onto the roof of the net. By the way, this is the longest appearance that Caven Sullivan got in his MLS career. He did make some impact for this Union team, but you can clearly see that he's still got a long ways to go before he's probably going to get some starting spot, and he's going to continue to mature. I think especially he's done very well in the MLS Next Pro level, and with that continued development, there's no doubt that he's going to definitely fulfill the potential that he has. I mean, this kid, he is a raw talent and a half when it comes to the potential that he could be, especially at such a young age like that. But the Union continue to look for the equalizer. But the question is, can they be much better in the final third? Because that's been a problem so far in this game. Though that being said, in the 84th minute, Aliu was 1v1 with the goalkeeper, but he was absolutely robbed by the goalkeeper Andre Blake. Though it wouldn't have mattered because the flag did went up. Blake then had a clearance that was actually blocked by Rossi and goes wide. So that was a very lucky break there for Andre Blake. I mean, usually when you're the goalkeeper, you're going to face some pressure on the opponent that's trying to block that one away, and that's exactly what happened. And Ross, see, did block that one, and fortunate for the Union, and certainly fortunate for Blake, it didn't go goal bound. Sullivan would then puts it high from long range in the second minute of stoppage time before Bueno has it just wide from close range. That was really the chance because Bueno had a free header there, and that is the one that, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be thinking about for the rest of the week. But yeah, in the end, Columbus, it was not a pretty performance by any means or necessary, and in many ways, they were frustrated in this game. But it doesn't matter because they get all 3 points and they continue to make a statement to the rest of the league that, yeah, when it comes to these kind of game, and this is kind of the difference. We know Columbus in these kind of game, in these big game kind of type of a feeling that they're going to always pull through. Wilfred Nancy's side has shown time and time again that they're able to pull through, and whether if it's in a pretty way or in an ugly way like they did in this one, they've shown time and time again that they're able to do so, and that's also kind of the problem for the Philadelphia Union as well, because as we've seen before in these big games, kind of feel, especially in the playoffs as well, they're not able to get the result, and that's kind of the frustration that the Union has had over the years, not able to get through the hump and not able to win these big games. But the shots in this one, there was not a lot of shots. 8 shots compared to 7 that the Union has. No shot on goal compared to 3 that Columbus had. 1 shot off target compared to 3 that the Union has. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Columbus had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to just 40% possession the Philadelphia Union has in this one. And do not be surprised if both of these teams will meet each other again, especially deep into the playoffs. Maybe even in the Eastern Conference final preview. And again, I know when it comes to entertainment, it might not be exciting, but I don't think the Philadelphia Union or the Columbus Crew would care. It's all about the grind in terms of getting the resort, and in this game you kind of saw that. And in many ways, you can also say this is kind of almost like a playoff, kind of almost cup final kind of feel a game where when you see cup final like that, where things could be a little bit of a slugfest, there might not be as much chances as we see in the regular season. That's kind of what we saw in this game. Now, moving on into the next game, that is LAFC versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. So the big question coming in to this game for the Whitecaps after getting Pummel at home against San Diego, and it been kind of going for a bit of a rough patch under Jasper Sorensen. Now that they got to go to LAFC, go to a place that not many teams are able to walk away with all 3 points. Can they do it? The answer is yes. And in many ways, this was a game where, Vancouver, they kind of took a page out of Minnesota where, they got that one goal and then they kind of just bunker in and hope for the best. And in the end, that hope for the best actually worked out because this was another one of those games for LAFC where they just couldn't finish. I mean, we've seen this story so many times with this team, especially in big games as well. I talk about the Philadelphia Union having problems with big games. LAFC has had a similar kind of narrative as well. And in this game, despite the fact that they outshot Vancouver pretty badly in this one, and that they had the chances to break through, they just cannot quite find that goal to at least get a point out of this game. Now, in the first half, Giroud with the first shot of the game, but he hits it right to Taco Cut. That definitely would have been something for his farewell game. I mean, you can clearly see Giroud. He was definitely on it in this one. This was probably one of, if not the best game he has played for LAFC, and it's kind of fitting the fact that he does it in his farewell game. But not much really happened early in this one. The shots were only 2-0 for LAFC 13 minutes in. In fact, Giroud was really the offense so far for LAFC as he puts it just high from long range. But then in the 20th minute, Vancouver gets the lead. It's Sabi. He scored from Bodwell to give Vancouver a 1-0 lead, and really that was the first shot for the Whitecaps in the first real attacking sequence for Vancouver. So in many ways, that was kind of completely against the run of play, but that's kind of what Vancouver can do. Do you know? And just like that, the Whitecaps have a 1-0 lead. Now, LAFC continue to dominate possession, but just no way through in terms of this rigid Whitecaps D. I mean, it was kind of interesting to see the fact that LAFC had most of the possession and the Whitecaps weren't having as much of the possession in this one because, Jasper Sorensen's side, they're known to have the possession and known to dictate the play. They're not kind of a team that likes to sit back and defend. This game kind of feel very similar to the Vanni Sartini kind of Vancouver team, just kind of sit back and try to absorb as much pressure as possible. And this is kind of why I was impressed to see that the Whitecaps still were able to hang on to it because again, in these kind of games that is not very orthodox in terms of the way that Jasper Sorensen like his team to play. They still were able to pull through in the end. DeRozan then heads it wide from close in the 31st minute. There was a shout for a penalty for LAFC not given. Bawanga then heads it right to Takoka as LAFC was pressing late to try to get the equalizer. Though Rios did had a big opportunity on the volley, but he puts that one high, and then Tillman puts it just wide from long range, and we do head to halftime with Vancouver holding that 1-0 lead. In the second half, Bawanga puts it wide from close. LAFC kind of picked up where they left off. They want the press for the equalizer. Giroud with that heads it wide despite having a free header there, and I think that moment just kind of sums up Giroud tenure with LAFC. I mean, just he just never really has the impact that LAFC is hoping for, and I think this is another great example to show that a lot of these big name European stars that have come to MLS in the twilight of career, and it's just another example to show you how this league has kind of moved on to that age where they really rely on those players to score the goals and be the focal point of the team because more times or not we have seen in recent years where these big name European star player that's kind of in the twilight of their career think that they can still dominate in MLS and it just have not been the case. I mean a lot of these guys just have not done very well. I mean the only exception of course is what Inter Miami is doing, but that's because when you have the goal himself, I mean that's obviously going to happen. But yeah, guys like Olivier Giroud, Marco Royce, even Gareth Bale, and all these guys that kind of in the twilight of their career come to MLS thinking that it will be easy, and it hasn't been easy whatsoever. There was a huge shout for a penalty for LAFC not long after, and then around the 60th minute, we get a standing ovation for Olivier Giroud getting subbed off for the last ever appearance. By the way, the co-commentator in this one, the color commentator, my goodness, how much I really want to scream at his face and say it's not pronounced Oliver, it's Olivier. It's French basically. And Keith Carstagen, the play-by-play commentator, he pronounced it correctly. So I'm kind of surprised he didn't correct his partner in terms of how to pronounce his name properly. And I'm usually not one of those guys that gets too critical when it comes to pronunciation, but it was just so painful to hear every time when the color commentator butcher his first name, and especially for his very last appearance, and really this is going to be the last time I've ever mentioned him in an MLS review video. It feels really painful to see that. But that being said, of course, he is subbed off for the very last time. A very standing ovation for his last ever appearance in MLS. He's going to be going to Leo after this game is over. But in the 71st minute, the post would deny Holland's head from close range as LAFC is pounding on the door. Vancouver was going row heave mode pretty much. They were bunkering and trying to get a massive some 3 points. Martinez would then puts it right to Takoka before he crows it wide from long range. Bawanga then had a shot that was deflected and goes high, and at that point, I just think, yeah, it's one of those nights again for LAFC. I've seen this happen before where they're not showing their clinical finishing. Ordaz would then puts it wide on the volley, and then he hits it right to Takoka in the first minute stoppage time, and yeah, in the end. Vancouver, they hold on to get the 1-0 win in this one. Great bounce back win after losing in a top of the table battle in the West against San Diego FC. The shots in this one, 15 shots compared to just 5 that Vancouver has. One shot on goal compared to 4 that LAFC had. That one shot on goal was the difference in this game. 6 shots off target compared to 2 that Vancouver has. By the way, I didn't mention this, but David Ochoa was actually in goal for LAFC in this one. And even though he didn't do a lot in this one, it was kind of interesting to see him back in goal. There's a lot of players and a lot of kind of throwback players that this season that we've been getting. Guys like Ochoa and even Maxi Ruti with New England as well. Guys that we have heard from for a while that scoring goal. Mark Anthony K even with the San Jose Earthquakes. A lot of throwback kind of name, and David Ochoa is definitely an interesting throwback. 6 shots off target for the 2 that Vancouver has. 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession the Vancouver Whitecaps has in this game. And overall, for LAFC, it's got to be frustrating. Like the coming out of the Club World Cup, they want to get themselves back on track in league play. And yes, I know you're facing against Vancouver, and Vancouver is a team that as we've seen throughout the season, not a lot of teams able to get a result against the Vancouver Whitecaps, even if you're playing at home or on the road. But you just kind of had a sense that with the chances that they created and the lack of finishing that they had in this one, it's got to be very, very frustrating not to at least get something out of this one. But again, for the Whitecaps, like I said, this is a team that no matter what kind of adversity that face, I mean, throughout this month where they have faced this adversity and have kind of gone through a bit of a downward trend under Jasper Sorensen, I had no doubt that they were going to do well because they've shown this season time and time again that they're when you think that they're down and when you think that they're struggling, Jasper Sorensen's side will find a way to motivate this team, and he's done a great job in terms of motivating this team and continue to get points. Which again, in this game, it was definitely not one of the better performances the Whitecaps have put, but at the end of the day, they don't care. They get the 3 points. They continue to go neck and neck with San Diego, and in fact, they still actually control their own destiny to finish at the top of the Western Conference because they do have a game in hand over San Diego. So if the rest of the season play out and they win out, they of course will still finish at the top of the Western Conference. And if that of course is the case, again, Jasper Sorensen, I think he definitely will be considered as the coach of the year. I think between him, Bradley Cornell, and even Mikey Veras, those are going to be the 3 candidates that will be interesting to see who's going to win the coach of the year this season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to looking at these 2 games to finish up the review of match week number 21. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. Of course, next weekend we have the holiday weekend when it comes to MLS games as well. So that should be very interesting to see. And also a little news flash for you. Like I said, I'm going to go to Houston for the Gold Cup, but I'm also going to be going to watch Minnesota in Dallas. I'm going to do a little bit of a Texas road over the weekend. So I'm going to have the same problem as I have this week where it's going to be very hard for me to try to keep up as much MLS game as possible, especially the fact that I'm going to be going to 2 of the MLS game while I am down there in Texas. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.